Okay, I stalked Eileen on Instagram because I found her so compelling and interesting, you guys. So this episode, hold on to your seat. It's going to be a roller coaster ride. Tell us about your blog that you launched in 2016 because you were young.
I know, I was like 19.
I mean, how did you even decide that you were going to launch a blog and why?
Honestly, I had started on Tumblr. So
How old on Tumblr?
16.
Okay, start there.
Yeah. It's funny. I was talking to a friend who also was like a Tumblr girl. We got dinner a couple of nights ago, and we were just joking about that period in internet like subculture. It will never be repeated because it was kind of before Instagram or like right at the brink of the creation of Instagram, like right after MySpace. Facebook's just coming out, kind of that timeline. And a little bit of my backstory is I grew up Catholic in a conservative bubble in a very liberal city. So I'm from Seattle, Washington, but I kind of came from this sheltered bubble there. And my mom passed away when I was really young, when I was 8 years old. And I had a single... Perfect. Okay. I had a single dad who never remarried. To this day, he's not remarried. And I just had a lot of alone time. Like I had a single dad. Like I said, he wasn't remarried, but he's working a lot. So he's out of the house. So I would say my high school experience was a lot of time alone. And I did ballet really intensely till I was 16. So I didn't have any social life.
And when ballet can be intense, from what I've heard with like eating disorders and the competition.
Body stuff and just like comparison and this reaching for perfection constantly. Like I think it's kind of a toxic environment. Obviously there's positive parts of it, but there were also negatives. And I was kind of a lonely, depressed teenager. And so that's where I got my start on Tumblr because I would come home from school and I'm like, I don't have many friends early on in high school when I was doing ballet. So let me make friends online. That was kind of where it came from.
And what was it like growing up with a father? Did you like just having your father and not your mother?
Difficult, but also I'm like, I feel like I don't really know any different.
Yeah.
But that was also kind of the push to start my Tumblr, to start the blog, is I had no one to talk to about like my body changing, like middle school and going through puberty was a really difficult time for me. Yeah, I was embarrassed to talk to my dad about like getting my period for my first time. And,
So what do you do?
Like talk to friends of mine, or sometimes like maybe close friends, like moms would kind of talk to me about it. But it was just very awkward and I felt very alone. And so I started this Tumblr account and I would talk about my life really openly.
Okay, so this is what we have to tell the audience. You were super open at 16 years old on Tumblr.
Super open.
Explain what that means.
Like I would just share everything, almost to a fault. Now I'm like, oh no, I have so much out there just floating on the internet about me. But I would talk about like, I lost my virginity and like, here's my new boyfriend and this is what I'm going through. And then it started kind of this Ask Alice type of mentality with my followers back then. And they would ask me questions and I'm 16. Like, what does a 16-year-old know? But at the same time, I had lived through some shit. And so I would just talk and kind of answer these questions and really started this community.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
On one hand, I think it's good for you to like be talking about this at 16 years old and opening up dialogue to probably other people your age. But I imagine having those type of open conversation also invites a bunch of creeps in.
You would be surprised. Really not that many creeps found me back then.
That's good.
He has a daughter, so I can tell he's processing this in his mind.
I think a lot of it for me though wasn't so sexualized. It was really like because no one taught me. Once I learned this information, or I would find stuff on Google and then share it on Tumblr. Like I taught all my girlfriends how to use tampons for the first time. Like I was very adamant of like, I want to go on birth control before I start having sex with my first boyfriend. Like I was like, no one cares about my sexual health, so I'm going to care about mine. And then I'm going to make my friends care about it, and I'm going to care about their sexual health. And it kind of became this domino effect.
It almost sounds like you mothered yourself.
Yeah.
Does your dad start to rely on you as like I know this sounds weird. I lost my mom at a young age too. So you almost develop this like wife relationship with your dad. That sounds weird, but I noticed my dad would like call me for things that maybe he would call a wife for. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that wasn't my experience with my dad. We weren't that close when I was younger. So I feel like more so I was leaning on friends or honestly just a lot of alone time.
You and your dad are so weird, Lauren.
It's not weird. Like he would just call me as like maybe more of like a confident.
Yeah, this is
a confidant.
A lot of this is lining up now.
My dad's Michael thinks I like bounce on my dad's knee.
Like, yeah, so what's going on over there?
No, I don't bounce on my dad's.
No, but you do call him daddy.
Your mic's not. Your mic's not.
Your
And then
mic's
also,
not on.
I hear
Get
you
away.
doing a bunch of weird shit back
Yeah,
there. I don't know what you're doing.
Your mic's not on.
You're honestly distracting
Yeah,
me.
it's distracting.
Get your
Okay.
mic on.
So when you say a lot of alone time, are you meaning like you're in your room on Tumblr?
Yes.
So it's interesting because I feel like your generation lived a lot through the internet almost.
Yeah, well, it's also like the emo phase. Like I wasn't really a part of that, but I think about like MySpace kids who would like go home and like be on the computer all day.
Yeah.
Like that was just, you had a desk. Like, yeah, I'm trying to think, like right around the time I was in middle school, like we had a desktop computer downstairs. Like I would play Sims and like go on Tumblr. That was my childhood, it feels like.
And then I read this or I heard this, tell me if I'm wrong, but Bella Hadid became a fan of your Tumblr account.
Yeah, and so we became friends on Tumblr.
And this is before anything.
Yes.
So here, how do you guys like become friends on Tumblr?
And I became friends with other people too.
Like, are you guys meeting in real life? Is it just over the internet?
It was all over the internet. It's weird because Tumblr is different than Instagram. Like you can't see how many followers someone has, but I guess you can see how much interaction. And I would post so much about my life that she followed me, and then we started talking on Tumblr. Also started talking to this girl, Gabby Westbrook, who became one of my first friends when I moved to New York. Addison Rae and I met for the first time like a week ago, and she came up to me and she was like, Eileen, I used to follow your Tumblr. And I was like, that's so crazy.
So you had like people like that you didn't even know following your Tumblr that now, I mean, Addison Rae is like obviously
So
huge.
successful,
So successful. It sounds like an Ask Alice, but like with a twist of Dr. Laura sex advice.
Yeah, kind of. But a lot of it was also, I guess, mental health before I knew it was mental health. Like I would talk about being depressed and I would talk about being anxious and going through these periods in my life. I wasn't so vulnerable or open. It was difficult for me to talk about the loss of my mom, and that's something I've kind of come to terms with more recently as an adult. But I would talk about kind of these open, taboo subjects.
What advice would you give to someone who lost their mom at a young age? Do you have things that make you feel better? Therapy?
Yeah, so I see a therapist. I see a therapist twice a week. It has been phenomenal. I recommend therapy to everyone. I actually feel like that's one of my dating rules now is I don't like to date guys who aren't in therapy.
Oh, you're out.
Well,
You're the fuck out. Taylor's out.
but okay, elaborate. Why do they need to be? I mean, I'm
I
sure
like
you.
this. Keep
Because
going with
men
this.
have a difficult time communicating already. So it's like you need to be working on yourself for me to want to date you. And like, I'm sure someone's going to listen to this and be like, well, therapy is really expensive and like you sound elitist and blah, blah, blah. And I don't think it necessarily needs to be like going to a normal session once a week with a therapist, but just that you are trying to, I guess, like work on yourself.
What if you meet someone that you really like and they're like, listen, therapy's a no-go for me?
So my most recent ex-boyfriend wasn't seeing a therapist, and it became
He's
a
the ex
thing.
for a reason.
No, he got into therapy while we were dating, and he still sees that therapist.
Whew.
Looks
So
like
this
it's
is-
time for you to see a therapist.
You know, no, Lauren, this is what I tell you. Is like the reason I'm so glad I'm locked down and out. Like one, I don't understand any of the dating apps anymore. Two, like these new benchmarks, I would be done. I'd just die alone.
No, because it doesn't. Like I said, I started dating my most recent ex-boyfriend, and he wasn't seeing a therapist. And I told him, I was like, it's really important for you to see a therapist.
Does it have to be with you or it can be alone?
No,
can be
alone.
alone.
I was like, I don't want to be with you. I want you to work on yourself. And I don't know, I like people who are introspective and figure out, he had a lot to figure out, as everyone does. Why do you do the things you do? What are your goals? What motivates you? What's stopping you from reaching your goals? How do you see your life unfolding? All these kind of existential questions that I'm like, you need to go figure this out. I actually helped him find a therapist, a referral through my therapist, and he still sees her, or still sees him to this day, even though we broke up like a year ago.
This is pretty profound for your age to ask these questions to a man. I actually, this is interesting to me.
The only reason, so I'm just going to play devil's advocate and give you pushback.
Oh no.
Do you believe you can't be those things unless you're in therapy?
No, but I think it helps.
Sure. But if somebody is introspective and working on themselves and they have clearly defined goals, and like maybe it's somebody that just kind of has their shit together, do you still say, well, I still need you to?
But I don't agree. I think that's like a stigmatized thing of people who are in therapy don't have their shit together. I think you can totally have your shit together. It just almost as you have the tools to, be even a better person, a healthier version of you. And maybe you go to therapy and then you're like, and you try it out for 6 months, a year, and you're like, okay, I feel like I don't need this anymore.
I do agree though that men do have trouble communicating. Like,
what if and
it's like a third party. It's someone who, it's not like you're going to a girlfriend or a friend or a family member talking about your problems. Like it's someone who's so unrelated to you that they can almost mirror this shit back to you.
I get the point. I'm just thinking about, and listen, I actually believe in therapy and think everybody should kind of maybe think about it. I'm just thinking about it selfishly. I don't have the fucking time right now.
Honestly though, coming from a family, so my family's like kind of anti-therapy, and my dad's never seen a therapist. One of my brothers I have two brothers. One of my brothers has, my other brother is like honestly kind of against therapy. And I'm just like, knowing men in my personal life who are not therapized or don't, I feel like, have a great understanding of them, it's like, that's not who I want to date. So like I need a guy who is like willing to take a look in the mirror, and that's really fucking hard.
I agree with you. This is what's hard for me personally with therapy. I haven't met the right person that I have chemistry with. I think if I met the right person, a therapist that I jived with, I think it would work.
Oh, you have to 100% try them. You have to try them out. And that's something I didn't.
Oh, no. So it's like I got to go date a bunch of to see who I'm going to fuck?
Yes. Who you're going to mentally fuck. Sure, we can use that.
I know, but is there any way I can like
fast track it?
Like, can I hire a hooker?
I'm telling you though,
how can I like hire someone to like that I'm just gonna know? Is like it's hard to like get a lot of dates with a different therapist. It's a lot of work.
I agree with you totally, but that's something I didn't know when I was younger. So I saw my first therapist after my mom passed away, and it was actually my mom's therapist, which I feel like as I'm older, I don't know how ethical that was.
Right.
But we were not a good fit. She was like felt kind of like Freudian psychotherapist. Like it was not emotional, not warm. And as a child who had just lost her mother, it was a poor fit. But I didn't know any different, and I didn't know I could be like, hey, I don't like this. I want to try something else. So I kind of just stuck it out for a while, and then I stopped. When I was living in New York by myself in college, I started seeing a therapist again. Not the best fit, but a better fit than that.
Okay.
Saw her for a few years, and then I did this program, which I'm sure we'll get into, at McLean, which is a psychiatric hospital. And I did a psychiatric program there for a few months. And now I work with my same therapist from the program, even though I left over 2 years ago. And she's like, I want to hold on to her forever.
You love her.
I love her. We text every day. Oh, yeah.
So let's segue into that program. But while we're here, what was the circumstances behind going and checking yourself into that program?
Okay, yeah. So I was running a fairly successful, had a podcast, had a business, this blog website, and my mental health started to deteriorate, more so from my personal life and just issues I had that I had never dealt with. Issues from losing my mom in a really traumatic way, just all of these things that had built up. And I was struggling really poorly emotionally, but I was a high functioning person. Like I could go to work every day, I could get my shit done, but emotionally I was like very suicidal, like so anxious, debilitating anxiety, like not really eating. So I lost a ton of weight and just not doing okay. And so I decided to take some time away from work. And I had met someone around that time who had gone to McLean Hospital themselves a few years earlier. And they told me like it helped save my life.
And where is this place?
It's in Boston.
Okay.
It's part of Harvard Medical School. It's
And you were living alone at the time in New York?
Yes.
Okay.
And I decided to go to that program. And I thought it's a 2-month minimum. So I was like, okay, I'm signing up for 2 months. Like if this is going to change my life or make me not suicidal, obviously it's worth it. And then you get there and it's actually a 6-month program.
So can you...
Wait, they lie to you?
Kind of. I mean, I wouldn't say they lie to you. Like you can leave. It's 2-month minimum. But the actual program and to go through the entire program, it is a 6-month program.
When you say hospital, the way my brain thinks, because I'm so scared of hospitals, is I think
Like a ward and
Yes.
like, no.
like I think like almost I almost think like One Flew Over a Cuckoo's
Nest. No.
It's not like that. Can you
No.
break that stereotype for us?
So I did a residential program that's different. If someone just goes to the psych ward and they're on a 72-hour hold, or let's say you're having hallucinations or something, then yes, it may be more like One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, where it's just in the psych ward, it's a normal hospital setting, you're in a gown. My experience was very different. You can't be like actively wanting to hurt yourself to be in that program. You can't have an eating disorder. Basically, I lived in a normal house off of the main hospital campus, and you do group therapy every day, and you have a group of like 6 doctors that take on your case, and you learn, it's a DBT program. So that's a specific type of therapy that I do now called Dialectical behavioral therapy. And basically it's behavioral therapy. So you learn that by changing your actions, it actually helps change your emotions and your thoughts.
So you can't go in there in a position where they feel that you could be harmful to yourself.
Yes.
So because they don't want to have to monitor. If you are in that position, they have to actually monitor you.
Yeah. So it's like, yeah, we could watch TV, but I didn't have a phone for 5 months.
I know. That's what I was going to ask you. I heard you say that. Okay.
Yeah.
Do you think that part of the reason that you were able to heal is because you didn't have a phone? I mean, the phone is giving, I think, us crazy fucking anxiety.
Oh, 100%. I also was going through a really toxic, like abusive, I'd been in this really bad relationship and was going through a horrible breakup with someone who I felt it was driving me crazy seeing Instagram on the phone. Like when it's back when I always talk about this, back when Instagram had that feature where people you followed, you could see what they were liking.
Oh, yeah.
You remember that feature?
Yeah, that was a wild feature.
Yeah, that made people go crazy.
You could see who they followed could you see who they unfollowed?
Yes,
You could see who they followed.
or see who they followed. So I was going through an on and off relationship, and I could see every day what the fuck my ex-boyfriend, like what, bikini photos he's liking or who he's following. So I'm like, oh no, he's fucking this girl now, or he's fucking this girl. And it was just like, that's not normal. You shouldn't be able to see that.
So go back before you entered the hospital.
That was a wild feature.
Yeah, they took it away because I swear I was making so many people crazy. The one good thing that they did for mental health.
You know what I did? Just a tangent. I just went on his phone at 3 a.m. one night and followed like 6,000 Chihuahua accounts. So all he gets served is Chihuahuas. So if he's liking anything, it's like 2 Chihuahuas cuddling in the sand.
I like Chihuahuas.
Good, like them up, because that's what you're getting served, bud.
Yeah, I don't follow any of the. That's a dicey move as a guy in a relationship. I don't go into any of the bikini stuff. I don't do any of that shit. That's just you're just asking for trouble.
You're asking for trouble, but then also now that I'm older and I feel like I've healed a lot emotionally and mentally, there were so many red flags that I just couldn't walk away from.
I think too, as you get older and you're outside and you can see, like looking back, for me it's like, and I know you said ex, so I don't know. You don't even want to be with someone that's going to be that energy, I feel like.
Yeah, but at that time, I think I had such low self-esteem and self-worth that I was like, well, we have this history and you tell me you love me, but so why are you chasing like everyone that's not me? And it becomes this really horrific cycle of like, I know I shouldn't be with you, you don't treat me well, but I can't leave you because I feel like ashamed and I really love you. And it's this really toxic push and pull.
What was the final straw when you broke up with him before you went into the hospital?
Probably some cheating thing. He's
Or what-
always cheating.
Always cheating.
Yeah.
And
How do these people think they're going to get away with cheating in 2022? Can
But
we
that-
talk about that?
No, but that's not the problem. The problem was like he would cheat and I still didn't leave. Like,
Got it.
like it's not all his fault, you know? Like I have to take some accountability that like I wasn't exactly walking away from this relationship. I was putting myself actively back into the situation. I didn't have the self-esteem or self-respect to be like, fuck you and like don't talk to me again. It was like, no. I love you. Like,
How would you find out he was cheating?
one time I went through his phone.
Love it.
And he had this text message from his roommate at the time being like, you need to tell Eileen and I'm not going to lie. And what was his response was like, I really love her. Like, I feel so guilty, but so just don't tell her. And she's like, okay, I won't tell her. But if someone asks me, I'm not going to lie for you.
you know, I have a strong perspective on this because I had two younger sisters, and I would always tell them, like, you know, it's not your fault if you get cheated on. It's your fault if you stay and then complain about it constantly. And unfortunately, and not to be sexist, I think I'm just saying this from an older brother's perspective. You know, I was like, you can be mad at the guy, but if you stick around and continue to validate it, at some point, like, you have to take accountability that you accept that behavior.
Oh, 100%.
And that you kind of okayed it in a way. Like, you can do that. I'm going to stick around. If you do it again, I'm, you know, you basically put yourself.
You're condoning the behavior and then it becomes a cycle. 100%.
Yeah.
And that's what was so crazy making. And also, I feel like what was fueling the anxiety and issues that I already brought to the table, like, I'm an anxious person, is I knew this relationship was toxic and I knew I needed to leave it. I felt like I didn't know how. I didn't have the tools to. And that made me feel like I can't trust myself. And it really alienates you when you're in a toxic relationship and you feel like, holy shit, I'm not going to leave them. So my friends are really sick of hearing about this. It alienates you.
We sometimes get pushback when we talk about this subject. Like, I call it like a tough love topic on this show, because I think some people are currently in relationships like this. And when you say it's like, they get angry, right? It's like people get angry if you shine a spotlight on maybe a vulnerability in the relationship.
Mm-hmm.
But I really believe it. I believe if you condone cheating, then you can't later then complain to all your friends and your family and everybody, because you're still bringing that person around, guy or girl. And we're all sit there and we all have to, sit there with a smile on our face and act like this isn't happening. But it's like, you know what I mean? Like, there's nothing worse than going to a dinner when the relationship's like that and everybody knows it's like that. And you kind of have to put this weird false smile. And then the next day they turn around and they're complaining about that same person. Like,
I agree, but I almost view it as like an abusive relationship, like emotionally.
Sure, of course it is.
And what is it? I had someone on my podcast the other day who is a domestic violence social worker, and she was saying that most people try to leave a toxic, emotionally abusive, physically abusive relationship like 7 times before they leave. That is the average. So it's like, you don't want to alienate your friend or family member, because it's like a lot of emotional work for you to keep hearing about this, and yet they stay and they don't listen, and it's like talking to a brick wall.
But you want to so what I'm
so
saying
I think
is
there has to be
it.
you don't want to condone it, but I also think I've seen people who have stayed in toxic relationships and then their friends ditch them. They're like, okay, I can't be there for you, so I need space from our relationship.
Well, because here's why. It becomes toxic to the person hearing it at some point, right? Like, if my friend comes to me, I'm just playing devil's advocate here. If my friend comes to me, it's like, I'm getting cheated on, I'm in such a terrible relationship, and I say, well, okay, like, I'm going to give you advice, you got to leave, I can help you leave, all these things. And then you turn around the next day and you're back with the person, you're having sex, and it's all great and it's all fun. And then you come to me again, you say the same thing. At some point, I'm actually the one being abused, right? Because you're coming.
I wouldn't say
I don't
you're
agree
being
with that.
abused.
I am being abused.
You know what he's doing right now too?
No, it's true.
He's talking about a specific person.
It's true.
I know
making
exactly.
it about himself.
No, I know exactly who you're talking about right now.
But it's true.
You're not being abused.
It is. You're abusing my
because
friendship.
you're allowed to have a boundary. Like, you can have a boundary. I agree with that. But I think if you've ever been in that situation and you have that empathy towards that situation, you shouldn't, if you're a true friend or you love that person, you don't up and leave. You can say like, hey, I can't talk about this anymore with you, but I'm here when you're ready to leave.
This is what I do with a person like this, because I'm dealing with a person like this.
It turns out I have no empathy and I'm not a true friend.
Sorry, I didn't mean it like that, but
no, I mean, sometimes you need to work on your empathy. But
well,
I think that there's a way to finesse it where for the first time, I'll be there for you. For the second time, I'll be there for you. By the third time, I'm going to take a step back and I'm going to let you come to your own conclusions. And what I do with that is I just ask you questions and listen, because at that point, by the third time, I just think that you want someone to listen to you. Then if it's the fourth time and the fifth time and the sixth time, I'm going to say, and I would say this to the person, I'm probably not the right one to talk to, because what my advice has not worked.
I'll tell you why it's abusive. Because if someone comes to me and I say, this person is such an asshole, get rid of them, fuck this person. Then they go back and says, Michael says this, you're an asshole, fuck this person. And then they don't. And then I'm forced to be around that person
Well,
again.
You're not forced.
You get what I'm saying?
But why you don't have to be around that person?
Oh no, my friends.
But see, you're thinking of a really specific situation.
They keep bringing around.
No, you are thinking.
Got to go on a double date.
You are thinking. And by the way, you can remove yourself from a situation.
But that's what
I feel like you have a little bit of post-traumatic stress.
You know what? Just fucking leave everybody. Everyone break up. Just done.
I also think too that some people have open relationships where it's okay to cheat.
Oh God.
No, because that's not cheating. If it's an open relationship, that is not cheating.
Okay.
Because you have like a consensual agreement to sleep with other people.
Got it. So that's not necessarily cheating.
That's not cheating.
Do you think those work?
I think for some people, I've met people who are, I had someone on a podcast I did years ago who was in a non-monogamous marriage. Married, like not even polyamorous, like they just had an open marriage and it worked. And she was like, I've cheated on like honestly every partner, like I just can't be monogamous. So I decided at this point in my life, and she met someone who also is kind of like that, and it works for them.
For a period. We had those.
Here he goes.
We've had a lot of those people on.
Really? For me, could never work. I'm way too jealous.
I'll tell
if
you
I'm
why.
being honest.
Sorry, I'm coming in.
I'm like, go through fucking phones.
I'll tell you, I'm coming in on you. I'm sorry. I'll tell you why. If Lauren and I were in that agreement, that's one thing. But then if you join and then you catch feelings, it's like, how do you get multiple people all on the same page? That's the difficulty.
He asks this question all the time.
I think that's difficult, but I don't think it's impossible. I don't think it's black or white.
I actually don't think it's a prescription one size fits all. I think that not everyone is like you and not everyone is like me and not everyone is like Eileen. I think everyone is different.
I'm just saying people are problems. And everyone has complexity.
That is true that there's the more people that you bring in, there's going to be more issues.
It's harder and harder to get, like it's hard enough to be in a relationship with one person, but then you add another person, maybe it works, and you add another person. It's like you have multiple dynamics that you got to manage for a long period of time.
I understand. So for me, polyamorous, where you're like in a serious, or you're in a relationship, like an emotional and physical relationship with multiple people, that to me feels way more complicated than if it's just like, okay, on Friday nights, I go out with my friends and I fuck someone else and I don't even like get their number and I don't stay in contact with them. And that's the kind of open arrangement we have. It's like once a month I can go fuck someone. That to me feels like, okay, would it work for me? No. But could that work for someone? Yeah, because I feel like there's a little less baggage if it's not an emotional thing.
Also, I think a lot of people are bringing other, like having threesomes. So it's
swinging.
Or swinging. Yeah,
isn't that big in this town?
Listen,
Michael,
you're like a little old, a little boring, a little retirement.
I'm done.
You're like,
oh no, do I need to play therapist?
No, Michael's a little like not, like I feel like Michael's in bed by 8 o'clock. He's like,
here's what it is. We've had like 600 of these things now, 500, whatever podcasts. And we've had all of we've had these conversations, and I always leave an open space for these people. We've had therapists come on and talk about this. We've had people that are married. We've had other people that were engaged. We are basically 10 for 10 on all of them not working.
That doesn't mean though that they all don't work. You can't say that.
I'm saying on this show and
these blanket statements today are like.
I'm saying on this show
and
this
this
control
show,
group, 10 for 10 none worked.
This control group, okay.
Let's do this with the audience. Let's tell us someone it has worked for. There's someone listening it has worked for.
The worst is when the guys come in and I'm like, hey, like, you guys in a relationship? And the girl's like, oh yeah. And he goes, we're partners. Like, this is my partner. And I could tell, like, a lot of the other person's like kind of been bamboozled into this. Like, they're not.
But she just said she has an experience with a woman who's like, I want to fuck other people.
Oh yeah, she's a woman. She teaches at NYU. She's awesome, and she's like fully non-monogamous, and it works for her. And it's funny though, because one time I got lunch with her, and she was like, Eileen, like, you can't, because I think it was when I was going through that breakup. She was like, you need to like not be so jealous or so attached. And I was like, okay, your brain is very different than my brain, because that's just not going to work for me.
I think that's the whole thing, is not everyone works for everything.
Yeah, and so figuring out what works for you and then doing that, and not kind of settling for something because, like, to please a partner, I guess.
So you guys ended up breaking up. Let's go back to you and your boyfriend. The final straw was that he was just cheating, and you couldn't deal with it.
Yeah, it was like on and off, like, oh God. We'd actually broken up like a year before I went away. And then it was kind of like this promise of we're going to get back together, but then he's hooking up with people. It was just really toxic and not a fun experience for either of us, I think.
So when you enter the hospital, do they take your phone or do you leave your phone at home?
So that was actually part of the reason I wanted to go to the program.
Yeah, I can see why.
Yeah,
the phone thing.
Exactly. So I had done an outpatient program first in New York City at Columbia. And it's where I would go to group therapy all day with 4 days a week. And then I would come home, and I lived alone, and I could see what my ex-boyfriend was up to. And I just felt crazier because I'm like, holy shit, I'm in therapy all day with these people. And then I come home and I'm alone with my thoughts, and I'm not doing okay. And I need a higher level of care. So I kind of had to convince them to allow me to go to this program at McLean. You can't just show up at the doorstep. You have to apply, you have to do intakes if you've ever been hospitalized. Like, it's there's only so many slots, and it's like a serious residential program. So I got a phone call saying, we have a spot opening. Can you be here in 1 week? And listen, I'm picking up my life. I have a cat. I live in an apartment. Like, you're gone for, I thought, 2 months. But I'm like, holy shit, I have to get my life together and make this decision in 5 days. And so I showed up with a suitcase, and I handed them my phone, because some people keep their phones. It's depending on kind of what you need. And I was like, literally, take this thing away from me. It's ruining my life.
So what's the protocol with the program? Is it therapy? Is it medication? Is it all different kinds of things? You mentioned a specific therapy. I would love for you to talk more on that.
So it's DBT, which is dialectical behavioral therapy. And as someone who had done talk therapy for years, I felt like I was talking around in circles. Like, I knew my problems, I knew where they stem from, but I didn't know how to change them. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know how to actually leave this boyfriend. I know maybe why I'm insecure or have attachment issues because of my mom and X, Y, and Z, but I don't know how to actually change my life. I felt like I was on a hamster wheel. And so I did this program where you learn all of these researched and studied tips and skills, is what they're called, on how to put stuff into action. I don't know if you guys are on TikTok at all, but there was this TikTok challenge going viral a couple of months ago where people were sticking their head in the ice water.
Yeah.
So that's a DBT skill. So for someone who's having a panic attack, it's a studied research thing that if you put your face in ice water, you dunk it in ice water, it slows your heart rate, and it can actually stop a panic attack.
That makes total sense. Don't mean to brag, but you got to try the ice roller. I'm going to give you one. I am obsessed with ice, and Michael is a huge, when he annoys the fuck out of me, I just throw him in an ice bath.
We put some, and we talked about this recently in an episode, the benefits of doing ice bath every week, right? And you do it but basically you don't have to do it forever, 11 minutes per week. And it's the same thing. It helps with the nervous system, helps anxiety, helps depression, helps your hormone response.
That's interesting though, that just by sticking your head in it, you can also get very similar benefits. I'm going to start sticking my head in ice.
There's a certain nerve in your face.
Huh.
I forget what it's called. It's the symbiotic nerve or something. And all animals have it too. And when you do a dive into really cold water, that's what kind of makes it work.
How long do you leave your face in ice?
If you're having a panic attack, we literally had to practice this shit. Like even if you're not upset, just like, so obviously if you practice doing it when you're not upset, then you're going to know how to do it when you are in that moment of crisis. But like, yeah, if you're having a hard time breathing, then you're putting your head in for like count to 10 and then out, breathe and go again.
That's a really good tip for a panic attack. That's actually like one of the best tips I've ever heard is to stick your head in a bowl of ice.
Yeah.
Water, right?
Yeah, ice water.
So when you're there, is there any point that you're like, I want to leave and I want to go on Instagram and I'm over this?
100%.
So what do you do?
Well, I couldn't go on Instagram. Yeah, I didn't have a phone. Like, I also coming as someone who like, I had a lot of friends. I ran a business. I lived alone. I had a cat.
You fell off the face of the earth.
I fell off the full face of the earth. Like, no computer, no iPad, no phone, no email, nothing.
Pausing for a second, do you remember what that first week was like off the phone? Because I imagine, we're all so connected, and I think about this all the time. Like, what if Lauren and I went somewhere and just left the phone for a few days, like what that would feel like? I can't even think of the last time we did that for multiple days. Do you remember what that felt like?
I think the first week was relief. Like it had been causing me so much turmoil, or honestly myself. I had been causing myself turmoil by using the phone as the tool to do that, I was just felt so relieved. Like no responsibility. No one's like emailing me 50 times, I'm not getting anxious that I'm not responding to an email fast enough. Like I just felt like, I can sit with myself and breathe. And then maybe like a month in or a couple weeks in, I'm like, oh no, I really miss my best friend, or I miss talking to my dad, or I miss my ex-boyfriend, whatever it was.
I imagine you could sit with your thoughts a lot better, because like with this thing, we're constantly like up, down, up, down, up, down.
Yes.
Like it blocks that path multiple times a day.
I think I wouldn't have had the same effects or like positive results in the program if I had a phone.
I'm sure.
So what are some other tools that you picked up from this hospital? Like were you doing tapping?
No,
meditation? Like what are the things?
Yeah, so you do mindfulness, which is kind of like meditation, and we would do that daily, and we had a class once a week on it. So that's kind of, you're in class all day. I like joke that I'm like, I have a PhD in mental health in myself.
So it's like a class where you're sitting down.
Yeah. So you're
not how I envision this.
So I'm in class from like 9 a.m. to like 1 p.m. usually, or it's group therapy. So it's like 1 hour or 45 minute to an hour increments. And you have a psychoeducation class, and the research on this is fucking amazing. It's one of my favorite things, that the more people know about their own issues, and even on like a scientific level, like what is anxiety? What's going on in my brain? Or what the hell is depression? Way higher rates of like getting through it and recovering.
Because they actually they make you understand what it is.
Yeah. So it's not just like, what am I doing this for? What am I working on? What the fuck is this, stuff that we're doing all day, every day? I don't really understand it, or how is this going to help me? They like drill it into you, and you learn like, this is what's going on in your body when you're having a panic attack. People go in to the emergency room thinking they have a heart attack. Like, more often than not, and it actually turns out just to be a panic attack.
Huh.
Makes sense.
When you left the program, did you feel healed, and did you still feel suicidal at times?
No.
Or never again.
It's actually
Wow,
crazy.
that's
And my
so
therapist
cool.
and I talk about this all the time, because even this week I was going through something in my personal life, and she was like, Eileen, if this had happened when I met you, we would be having a phone call right now from like the psych unit at the local hospital. Like you would be in such crisis, or you would have to go to the ER. And she's like, you're calling me from home, and you're calm, and you're explaining the situation. And she's like, this is like, I just want to take a moment and pause and show you how much progress you've made in 2 years.
When you started opening up about sex, I know you did it when you were very young. Was this after or before the hospital that you started creating this platform where people could talk about sex?
Before.
And so when you came out of the hospital, did you continue to talk about sex so openly?
Yeah. I mean, I still talk about sex, definitely on my Instagram and stuff, but I've more pivoted towards mental health. But I also think the two are so interconnected.
Right.
But it was never really, like, as much as I like to talk about dating and like fun sexual stuff, it was really more like the sex education, the health, like what is a period, getting my IUD put in. Like I share all of that stuff very open online. And that to me felt very interconnected to like my sexual wellness is connected to my mental well-being.
What's a common denominator that you see people asking you about when it comes to sex? Is it protection? Is it, swapping partners? Like, is it they don't like their partner? What do you see a lot?
Oh, everything. But I think people come to me for more serious things because they know I'll talk about it. So like I get messages about like, oh God, sexual assault, like, more intense kind of subject matter. But I also get stuff of like, how can I give a good blowjob? And I'm happy to answer both of those questions or talk with my followers. And I'm like, I don't know everything, but I can tell you what I know.
I got a really good tip on how to give a good blowjob the other night when we were out to dinner.
I want to hear it.
Oh God.
Sorry, Josh Flack.
Oh yeah, it was from Josh Flack.
He said, you probably already know this tip, maybe. Maybe you don't. Taylor, do not get a hard on. So he said that it's really important. A lot of girls are ignoring the gooch.
Okay.
You cannot ignore the gooch.
Like with your fingers or lick it?
Like he said, lick it. He said, gooch.
Josh is wild though.
Gooch all the way up the scrotum to the tip. He told me that is the move.
I'm not going to say it's not the move, but I would just say that he's on the wild end of the spectrum.
Taylor,
I'm sorry, is the scrotum or is the gooch, actually have that much
Yes.
sensitivity?
Yes.
So they say.
Yes,
So
and
they
he
say.
said that he's...
Well, I would like to know.
Yeah, go for it.
Well, listen.
Tell us about your gooch.
Well, Lauren, listen, after this show, we'll figure it out. No, I imagine, listen, I'm telling you, Josh is on the aggressive end of the spectrum. And Lauren was talking about.
You're not answering the question. This reminds me of like
Is
Bill
your gooch
Clinton.
sensitive?
I'm sure it's, yes, it is.
What do you mean
sensitive.
I'm sure?
No,
What
it
do
is. Well, they
You
say-
don't know? You've
No,
never touched
but,
it?
No, it is, but it's.
I've touched your gooch
Hold on,
multiple
but-
times when
Do you want me to give you the answer?
Yeah.
It is, but it doesn't mean every guy's going to like that spot.
Okay,
right?
okay.
Oh, so it's like, it's gray. It's not black and white.
It's gray. Like,
Uh-huh.
I don't
Like
know,
everyone's different.
I don't know if I need you down there right now.
Why?
Because I don't know if I do. I just like, maybe sometimes it
Oh,
depends.
I'm getting down there after he told me that.
Okay, so like, we can
Does
try
it freak
out.
you out?
No, it doesn't freak me out.
I
but
touch your gooch all the time.
it doesn't freak me out, but it's not something that's like a requirement for a good blowjob. Does that make
How
sense?
do you
Yeah.
know?
Like, because it's mine. I know. But I think like some guys have certain requirements to call it. Like that's not one of my requirements.
Okay, but he wasn't saying that. That's like saying
No,
like,
he was-
do you want a cookie with frosting? Like the frosting would be nice. And like maybe I do want a cookie with frosting, but like
Taylor,
if-
what do you think?
could-
Weigh in here.
For me, I don't think it would be something that's gonna blow my skirt up.
Well, you last a minute, so you don't count, number one.
For me, I'm because I was thinking about it, and I'm like, I don't know.
Here's
I don't
the thing.
know if that's
Okay,
sensitive.
I'm gonna
for me or
say
not,
I'm gonna
though.
say this.
I'm going to take my thing that's supposed to make me horny
so-
just to
Okay.
add to this
I don't know.
conversation.
only take a sip first.
So hold on.
'cause
That
it's
has
very-
it has kava and kratom in it. It's all natural. It's plant, but just warning you, like maybe take half if you want.
Okay, why? It will make me anxious?
No, it won't make you. It should. It
It's
should
a
be
heart
like.
opener. It's gonna make you feel euphoric.
So I'm going to get high in here if I take the whole thing?
I told her off air that we're gonna have a 5-some in here because we have the
Hi, I'm
baby.
here for the gangbang.
Well, now you-
I'm sure you are.
It tastes like,
some people don't like the taste.
I don't mind the taste.
I don't mind the taste
You
either.
know why the like
Don't
sediment you
love
taste?
it.
Yeah, it's the plant. It's the sediment you taste. I
That's fine.
like it. Some people are like, oh, I can't even taste it.
It opens
It tastes
your
like
heart.
stevia a little.
Yeah.
There's a little stevia in it.
Okay.
There's a little stevia in it.
Yeah, you'll feel good. It's not like crazy. I mean, it's not like
I think
crazy.
that I'm gonna
Wait,
go.
hold on. Let me stay on this subject here.
Sorry.
Okay.
Of gooch?
of gooch.
Okay, what about your asshole?
See, okay, so here's what I'm telling you. I am not one of those guys. Okay. And again, people are going to have different takes on this. I feel in some ways like I don't need to have my wife do that, right? Like it doesn't make, I don't think that's like, I don't want to have her do that. It doesn't turn me on. Some guys really like it. But again, I think this goes back to preferences. Like for me, if she's asking, should I do that? I'm saying no, like it actually doesn't turn me on. I don't want that.
Okay.
It's not that I'm not open to it. Some
But
people
what if
really
she's
like
like, it really turns me on to be all up in there?
if she was like, it's a deal breaker for
I
her,
don't
then
need to lick your asshole. Like
I didn't say lick, I just meant a finger up there.
Oh yeah.
if she was like, this is
I'll
something
shove
that
a
I
finger
like,
up there.
it's kind of like what if I was into anal all the time? It's like maybe it's a once in a while thing, but
Yeah.
I'm not going to be like every time because she's like maybe doesn't like that every
Hold
time.
on. If I wasn't your wife though, like, do you want me?
Yeah, does
down
that
in- Yeah.
change?
It's like I'm imagining that website, that red flag guy, and it's red flags.
My
Anal only.
personal preferences is I am not an anal guy.
Okay.
My personal.
Anally.
Have I partaken in that activity before? Yes, it does. It's not my, like, I would rather go the traditional way. Like, that turns me on more personally.
Why? Is it like a cleanliness thing?
Kind of that.
Okay.
But also.
He's very clean. He's cleaner than me.
Also, I'm just more attracted to the female vagina.
Okay, that's
right?
fair. Yeah.
That's my thing.
Yeah.
I don't think there's anything wrong with everything, but it's just like, if I have my preference of like where I'm going to, what my default is, there's that.
Yeah.
Taylor,
That's
are you
fair.
going to butthole?
I've actually never had any.
I also think guys that haven't had that,
Oh.
it's like this. Guys that haven't had threesomes or haven't had that experience are way more excited about those because they haven't experienced them. If you have, it's like, to me, a threesome now is it seems like a lot of work. It's a chore. It's oh God, I got to do 2 people here. Because if you've had that experience, it's like, once you've had it, you're like, okay. But again, some guys are like, that's my main thing. Same with anal. Like, if you haven't had it, like, I've never done this.
Let's ask the expert.
Yeah.
I mean, though, what if someone's on and they like the feeling of anal sex?
Then they should be.
Or it feels more taboo. It turns them on in that way,
Then
or
I'm all for
feels
it.
tighter.
Well,
I'm all for
you're
it.
not doing anything. You're dead. You're in bed by 8 o'clock looking at Chihuahua accounts.
So let me clarify.
There's nothing that's happening for you.
If my wife was like, I'm so turned on by that activity, I'd be all for it.
Okay.
But I could tell that's not like necessarily her activity
Yeah.
either. So I'm
Yeah.
like, I'm not pushing for it because I also want my partner to be turned on. I think that's a mistake.
I think, though, back to the blowjob question, like, does that excite you or make the blowjob better to be getting a blowjob and someone's going around your butt and putting a finger in it?
Not really for me.
Okay.
That's not
And
for
Called the
you.
rusty trombone.
And listen, Lauren's tried.
No, wait, that's where they do analingus.
I'm
and then
always
they-
gonna try.
They like from
Lauren-
behind.
Lauren's-
I like
and
to
then
test
they use,
limits.
Listen,
they
Lauren,
I
use
like
the
to test
penis like
limits,
the
too.
tool.
I'm going to try anything once,
Yeah.
girl.
Yeah, I'm gonna try anything once, girl.
I'm
for
gonna try
sure.
anything once, guy.
Okay.
But I guess what I'm saying is like, it's not my
Besides
like.
open relationships.
yeah.
Well, no, because I'm telling you,
For you.
I don't want to deal with a bunch of people's emotions. I can barely deal with my friends. I'm emotionally closed off.
That's why we need therapy.
Yeah, probably. Look, hey,
Pull it around full circle.
and by the way, I'm not saying you're wrong on the therapy subject. I actually fully agree that if I was in with a good therapist, it would probably do nothing but enhance my life. So I want people to hear that.
Okay.
It's same with meditation, right? It's like, I know if I could get into a great meditation practice. There's things like this. I mean, like, everybody knows if they worked out, if they ate better, if they were positive, they got into a good therapy, if they, like, all of these things could do nothing but help. I
Trying to
acknowledge
talk
that.
about therapy while Taylor pulls up rusty trombone on the internet is interesting.
Oh my gosh.
Do you know?
There, the rusty trombone.
So that's like a hand job
Yeah,
while
it's-
they're
yeah,
eating their
exactly.
ass?
The trombone is the shaft of the
I've
penis.
never heard that before.
Oh, that makes sense though. It looks like she's playing a trombone. Everyone should
So
Google
let me
it.
explain this image to you. There's a woman eating a guy's ass with her hand around grabbing his shaft. I love my wife and I don't ever want to put her in this position, right? Like,
Well, I think though that if I was your mistress, you wouldn't mind it.
I could degrade the mistress.
I don't know. I just think you wouldn't mind it if I was your mistress.
I don't think, but I'm saying, like, I think about these things. I'm like, if somebody was filming my life on TV,
I just feel like fecal matter is not sexy to me.
Yeah, but I don't think you do this after you just went to the bathroom.
No, but there's bits.
here's the thing.
No, not if you, what do you mean?
I'm not saying on him.
Oh,
He's
I'm
probably clean as a whistle.
Soap up
Taylor,
there.
our producer, for sure is having dingleberries.
Here's the way that I feel about
No, you
this.
clean. You get clean.
No, you take soap, especially if you know you're going to have anal sex. You could also use an enema. You're clean.
Here's the thing that I
don't
believe.
worry about the cleanliness.
If I'm having,
I love that our conversation got here and we've been on this for like 10 minutes.
if I'm having an encounter and somebody is pushing for that, I'm like, okay, this person knows what they're doing. They've done it before. They're probably clean. They've probably taken the steps. If in the reverse, I'm the one pushing for this and the person's not sure and they haven't done it, I'm backing off because I don't know what kind of accident we're going to have.
That's fair. No, blah, blah, blah. You definitely have to prepare with anal. I
yes.
don't believe that anal is like a spontaneous thing. You need lubrication. You should use a condom because like most people don't want to finish in the ass. Like that's a long time to be like fucking in someone's ass.
I think
As
that
a woman-
if you like fucking in the ass, you should fuck in the ass all day.
No, definitely. But I'm saying for Okay, in
You gotta
my
be prepared.
experience, when I
It's
have
not like-
had anal sex, let's
Prepared.
say we have anal with a condom, and then they take off the condom, and then they can have sex in my vagina.
Got it.
So that's a quicker turnaround than like you have to run to the bathroom, wash your dick off before you have vaginal sex, or else hello yeast infection.
Okay, let me tell everyone who's listening, do not ever let that penis even touch your butthole. Even let it touch your butthole and think about sticking it in your vagina.
Yes, there we go.
Yeast infection and UTI.
UTI, BV, it's just like hello.
That's but
problems.
here's my point. I'm going to extend my point. You said that you think it's clean, the butthole, because we clean the butthole. But if we're still getting a UTI or a yeast infection, there's a little fecal matter.
No,
out
that's
Okay,
when- that's when
yes,
the
but
penis-
no-
no,
no,
That's 'cause
but
the
you were
penis is
saying,
going
like-
deep into the anus.
You were
okay?
saying yes. Okay,
There's two
I agree
different
with
things.
Taylor.
Yeah.
here.
If Michael's
If-
penis touches my butthole for 1 second, I feel like, this isn't like by a lot of experience because I'm not a butthole person. I feel like it's UTI.com. Like I just
think anal sex is very different than like licking someone's
it is.
butthole.
Eileen, it's so
100%.
nice to meet you.
You know, like when you're going internal. Wait, okay, so I have to tell you this because it popped into my head. So you guys said that you haven't ever in a long time been off your phones for a couple days. So I went to this place called Canyon Ranch last month, and they don't take your phone, but I asked them to. And I went by myself upstate New York, or it's in the Berkshires. And I said, can you take my phone? And the woman was like, sure. And so when I checked into the spa weekend for 2 nights, I didn't use my phone for 3 days, 2 nights.
I think it's smart. I think it's really smart.
And
And I
how'd
was
you
by
feel?
myself, and it was fucking awesome. I literally felt like so refreshed. I was like, I need to do this once a year.
Lauren, I'm going to take when we go up.
What did you do? Did you wake up, like masturbate for an hour, read a book,
No,
watch a
it's-
show? What do you do?
So it's like a wellness retreat, like spa. So I went to the spa all day. I would like sit in the sauna, steam room. I got a massage. Like there's all this healthy food there. You can go on hikes. I did Pilates. I swam every day. Like I was very busy and tired by the time I got back into my room.
And what time did you go to bed? And did you talk to anyone while you were there?
I did have the phone number to my best friend Sean, who was watching my cat, but I wrote it down on a piece of paper, and there was like a hotel phone in my room, and so I would chat with him.
And what time did you go to bed?
Probably 10.
So normal time.
Yeah.
Here's my plan, Lauren. I've thought about this. I want to get one of those burner phones that you can plug a phone, because we have kids, right? So sometimes you got to have,
Yeah.
be reached. And we can go somewhere and just bring that and
And
give
I'll
it to.
give you a rusty trombone.
We'll get the phone, the burner phone, and we'll go have a bunch of anal sex.
Okay,
No.
I'd rather lick
Done.
gooch.
But yeah,
Lick it from the
I'm
end.
gonna
He
follow-
told me to lick it from the tip of the gooch, the tip,
Josh did.
all
What is the tip, like near the butt cheek?
near the butthole. Lick it
You know-
all the way.
Because it's
to
too
the-
underneath. Like I don't want someone sitting on my head.
No, you don't have to do. I feel like if they're on a chair, you can just.
I don't want to get on the chair and spread. You know, I don't call me old fashioned. You know, I just don't need to be there with my legs up in the air doing like nobody needs to see that. Like,
Yeah, I don't know how hot I think that is either.
I
You know
don't-
what? I'm gonna try it out once, and
No.
you're gonna see that you're gonna like it. So that's the tip. That's the tip. That's the
That's our tip of the
literally
day.
and figuratively.
I do think
lick it
you-
to the tip.
You are onto something though with this no phone. I think it would be very helpful for many people because when
Even
is the-
just one day, like off for 24 hours, and like maybe you have a pager or something if you're the babysitter needs to get a hold of you.
Could you do that?
no, I think I really want to do that. I
It
think
takes a little preparation though. Like obviously I went on a weekend, so it was fine for emails, but you can't just like, if you have responsibilities or you own a business, like you can't usually just fall off the face of the earth.
What is your relationships that you've been in since you left the hospital? Like, what's the differences between the ones that you had before?
Yeah, so I dated someone for a year. I mean, I've had like a few flings with people, and I used to be a serial monogamist. I was always in a relationship since I was 16. I had a really difficult time being single and being alone. And that was something I wanted to work on when I went away. Like I would jump into a relationship, settle for a relationship with someone that I'm not that into, but I'm like so scared to be single or alone. Like it's a really depressing state to be in. And I feel like I had the opportunity to date people. And I was like, you know what? I feel finally like okay with maybe I'll hook up with this person, but I'm not going to make them my boyfriend. And I wouldn't have done that before.
What makes a good hookup? Let me live vicariously through you. You can't be too drunk because then you can't get off. Well, I can't.
I can't come when I'm drunk.
Yeah,
no, I prefer sober sex. I like someone who's adventurous. I like someone who I'm comfortable communicating. Once again, communication. Like what feels good, and it needs to be continuous.
Meaning, like you got to keep hooking up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It always gets better.
I had one night stand. I remember. Which isn't, I'm kind of monogamous too. I've had a lot of different boyfriends, but I had one night stand. And I remember leaving and thinking, I will never do that again. That is so pointless because you don't know each other's body.
And the sex sucks. I mean, I've obviously met people and have friends who have like, oh, I had an amazing one night stand. But to me, I'm like, I like to be comfortable. Like we could joke about doing some of the, like, you know, something like that. Or like, hey, let me go on your gooch or whatever. You know what I mean? So, and you don't do that with someone you just met.
Every girl listening to this is going to their guy and I'm like, fuck, the gooch. This is a whole mind thing.
Yeah, this whole episode.
The best tips for a blowjob are from a guy. Always.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
And I'm like, I don't even give hand jobs because I'm like, you can do that better for yourself.
No. Let me for everyone out there. I would hate a hand. I don't. You know why? There's no hand that's gonna be better than my hand.
Yes, that's how I think.
I
you
gave you hand jobs before I blew you when I was 13.
No, you didn't. And
yes, I did.
Okay.
Wait, what do you mean 13?
We hooked up.
That sounds very
Michael
scandalous.
was my first. Michael was my first blowjob.
Wait, stop. How long have you guys been together?
Not the whole time. Not the whole time.
I keep trying to shoo her away.
Not the whole time.
That is crazy. You came back together.
We came back together.
That is so romantic.
I used to give you hand jobs and you liked that.
Yeah, but I was 13. You know, like
So?
I've had a lot of.
Yeah, he wasn't having sex at the
I know
time.
how to flick the wrist.
Yeah, but
you're gonna say that I'm not good at a hand job.
But let me tell you something. If you're a 35-year-old man like I am, and you're still getting hand jobs, you got to go. Then I'm going to therapy.
But
I love hand jobs.
What?
Of course you do.
Yeah. Case in point, that's the guy that loves the hand jobs.
Wait, that hand job while you're blowing is great.
That's different. That's different.
Okay.
Well, what are you? We're not 13 anymore.
I'm trying to think. What are some of my favorite tips? I'm trying to think of like some of the best sex I've ever had. Maybe I need someone who's adventurous. Like if I tell you like, hey, I want to do this role play or I want to fuck like this guy that I was hooking up with actually right after I got out of the mental hospital. I had hooked up with him a couple times right before I went in, didn't speak to him for half a year and then got out and was like, hello, I'm alive. And he was like, oh, I would love to see you. So we started hooking up for a bit. And I used to love going out to like a dinner or a restaurant and we would have sex in the bathroom.
That sounds fun. Michael's
we also had
private.
sex in Central Park.
Right after you first had your orgasm, did
What?
you whisper into his ear, I just
Dude,
got
get
out
outta
of a
here.
mental hospital?
You had sex in Central Park. Where were you, like on the boat area? Were you at a hot dog stand?
So I didn't grow up in New York, but apparently it's like this. He did. It's this. Oh my God, he's gonna probably hear this and be like, "What the fuck?" I mean, it's this notorious spot that people who grew up uptown, like Upper West Side or Upper East Side, who like don't want to go home and hook up in their parents, you know, if they are not allowed to, they would hook up in this spot in Central Park. It's like notorious. He used to fuck there in high school. And so he was like, this is the spot. And so we kind of just did it as a joke. It was like when the sun was starting to set and we just decided to have sex in the park.
You know
It was like a bucket list
This
thing.
is bringing up a little bit of nostalgia for me because I did forget that I gave you a blowjob in the McDonald's
Here's the thing.
balls.
She did.
Remember that?
No, listen, this is a
Hold
fucking.
on.
Excuse me, how old were you?
We were young.
13.
Just so we don't get in fucking go to jail. We were kids, okay?
You're like, this is like
But here's the
3
thing.
years ago.
Were we in the balls or the?
This may be an
In the
arrogant.
You were in
slide?
the gooch at the
This
You were
playpen.
giving blowjobs at 13?
Yeah,
we
I was.
We were. Yeah,
I was a fun time.
we were having fun. Here's the thing, Lauren, and this is maybe arrogant to say. This was all possible before all of this. Now you can't do this kind of thing publicly and get caught giving blowjobs in McDonald's balls. We're going to jail if that happens.
Yeah.
Right? So.
And you're sex offenders for life.
Yeah.
We also there was a couple different public places.
Yeah, but we were kids, you know, like now.
Warehouse, the
Here's the
movie
thing.
theaters. Down to You. Remember that movie?
Blowjob in the movie theater?
Yeah.
I've never done that, but
It's funny
that's on the
when you-
list.
I was like,
I've done taxi cab.
okay.
Let me see. I did a lot with this guy actually. Like I was like, oh, I just got out of the mental hospital. Like
That doesn't sound so.
no, I know.
Like,
It's fun. It's kind of funny. And
It is kind
like,
of funny.
I'm owning that narrative. And I was just like, I want to do everything and anything. Like I haven't had sex for 5 months. Like that's crazy.
That's a long time.
This guy with his friends was like, this is the greatest thing ever. This girl just got out of the mental institution. She's fucking me all over the city.
We had sex I lived in like a doorman building on like a high floor, and we had sex not in the elevator, I wish, but we had sex in the stairwell, which like I'm like, oh my God, my neighbor could walk in at any second. Like we did a lot of fun stuff.
He sounds fun. Hit him up. What's your craziest sex story? Leave us with something funny.
I know. I've had a lot of threesomes.
Okay, give us the dynamic of that. Like what's a fun?
I used to hook up with this couple in LA. That was a really fun dynamic. I lived in New York and I would come sometimes and like hook up with them.
How did you meet the couple?
My friend was hooking up with the guy and the couple's roommate.
Your friend was hooking up with the guy?
With the roommate of the couple, essentially.
And then the couple approached you?
Yes.
So is this a conversation before you hook up with the couple?
Yes.
How do you like lay the grounds?
I mean, they were kind of just like, I could tell they were flirting with me, and I was like, oh, they're like, she's gorgeous and he's really hot. And I was like, I'm so down. And it just kind of went down like that.
And no one was ever mad?
No. Oh, I knew.
Yeah, like tell
I know. So that's why I believe in being the third person in a threesome always. Like I've never had a threesome in a relationship. I've had a threesome with someone I'm hooking up with. Actually, the guy, Mr. Central Park, and I would have threesomes all the time because I didn't feel like I respect him and we have a great relationship. I wasn't like emotionally in that invested or like in love, so I wasn't jealous. I couldn't do it with like a boyfriend that I'm in love with. But as the third, you're like, okay, I show up, I have a great time, and then I leave, and you two can clean up the mess and deal with it.
You see, there's always someone to clean up the mess.
How do you know that they were cleaning up the mess?
Because they ended up breaking up actually after our last threesome. And I know, and I remained friends with them both separately because I met them at the same time.
Do they blame you?
No, not at all.
They just blame what?
I think they blame him. I think maybe she wasn't as comfortable and didn't want to really have. They had a bunch too. It wasn't just with me, and I feel like that was a kind of dynamic. She was doing it to like make him happy.
I just want to say, Lauren, 11 for 11. No, 11 for 11.
Oh, he's saying 11 for 11. So the next person that comes on, he's going to do that.
I'm looking for the winner that's going to give
I've
all
done
of
it
us
with
hope.
friends. That's kind of weird. Like I don't recommend that for people.
Girlfriends or guy friends?
Oh, because then
Girlfriends.
that's in the dynamic now.
Like I've done it with one of my best friends.
Like you and a girl have hooked up with a guy.
Yeah, and like we fully like had sex with each other.
Taylor, are you okay?
I'm busy right now.
And then is it awkward to go out with your friend after you?
No, but I think I'm a freak in that way. Like I think most people it would feel awkward, but I don't look at my friend any differently, if that makes sense. But also I have with this particular friend I'm thinking about, I have almost like I feel like our relationship is not just a clear-cut friend relationship. Like I wouldn't just have it with any of my random girlfriends. It's like I almost have like kind of a romantic-esque relationship with this girl.
I love your generation because it's so open. I just love it. Like it's so refreshing to like. I said this about Harry Jousey too.
Well, listen,
the way
I think
he came on, he's like, hey, what's up? Like, pass the water. I did a sex tape. Do you guys want to see it?
Well, there's a reason I push back on you a little bit too, because I think at the same time, like opening other people's minds, including myself, right? Like you want to hear this information, hear the perspective.
Yeah.
I just like this generation.
I got the best compliment ever after that threesome.
What was it?
Well, what was the compliment?
It wasn't sexual.
Oh.
It was, I felt so safe and so comfortable with you.
Wow. That doesn't surprise me though, because I feel
it
like
was her first threesome. I had been hooking up with that guy like a couple years prior, and we just were like, we went to dinner and we were kind of like, we want to do something fun tonight. And she thought he was attractive, and so we just texted him like a selfie saying, do you want to fuck us tonight?
I'm sure he was like,
yeah, he flew right over.
He flew right over.
The guy's like, hold on, I'm in the park. I'll be right there.
Yeah.
He was ready to go.
Well, no, it's not Park Guy. It's a different guy. Yeah.
I just have been an oversharer since I've been little, and I feel like maybe I was born in the wrong generation because I talk to people that are your age and they're just free and open and liberated, and I wish that our generation had a little bit more of that.
Well, listen, this is just how, this was a very Puritan, you grew up Catholic. Like there's pockets of this country that are still living in that world, which is fine.
I feel like majority actually. If you go outside of like the big liberal cities, a lot of people are more closed-minded than you think. I mean, these are even conversations I wouldn't really feel that comfortable having in front of my dad. Like I don't know if my dad were to listen to this episode or like
my dad's listening.
Lauren loves having these
my dad's
conversations
listening.
with her dad. It's
my
fucking-
older brother, like, no, that's just not my family dynamic. Do I wish it was different? Honestly, yeah.
Well, listen, I mean, I don't want to have these conversations with my younger sister, not because I don't want her to be open or them to be open and do all these things. I just don't need to envision that.
But if my daughter comes and has these conversations with me, you know I'm going to be very
sure, but
open
I
about
also
this.
like I want my daughter to be able to come to me, but I don't want to hear her about getting fucked.
She
in the
can tell me.
You know?
She can tell me. I
I want to have
said,
super open
Yeah.
conversation with my kids one day down the
ever
line.
since I was little, Thanksgiving dinner, like
I want to reserve space for them to feel comfortable to come, but I don't need.
you don't
know,
need all the details.
Yeah,
is that why you married me to use me to do it?
yeah. I'm like, listen, this is for, good luck. Go to
So
your
you
mother.
want me to like teach all the things?
I mean, listen, I'm just
fine with it.
think that there's certain things that like, you know, you have a relationship with your, like, I don't know, there's certain things I don't need to hear about or see.
I know, but I kind of wish I had that closer bond but also I'm missing the mom piece of like, I don't really have someone in the unit to go, and it's uncomfortable to talk about like my dating life. Like, I just feel like I don't have that place to go, and I wish I did.
Like, I don't need her to come to me and be like, I'm trying to do this rusty trombone.
No,
And-
No, that's different. But
You
what
know.
if she's like, Dad,
Oh, that's-
I
You
have
can
this.
literally Google how to give a blowjob by the Skinny Confidential. So
If
if
she
my
can-
daughter
no, hold
comes
on.
to me and she wants to talk to me about these things, I'm going to create a non-judgmental space.
if she
around
wants to
it.
come to me and say, I want to talk about safe sex and guys and this, and like, yes, of course. But I'm saying,
Oh,
I don't
Yeah,
need
but
that.
what are you going to do? You're going to be like, so let me show you how to put a condom on a banana.
Oh,
What the fuck's a condom?
you're gonna go to your mom.
Hey, listen, I can't do condoms. I'm sorry. I can't do them.
Well, yeah, you're married. I mean,
Yeah, you're married. You don't have to do a condom.
No,
but
but
you don't think back
Oh.
in the day you didn't do condoms? When you were single?
I did a couple, you know, what's Harry Houdini things where it's like slip it on, throw it off. I can't do it. I can't do it. But that's why I'm probably.
that's safe. You need a therapist.
Yeah. People, listen, I was with partners that didn't, you know, we didn't want them. I'm a sailor. you
It's
know?
a different time, I think, too, when you went to college.
I don't know. So I made this sweatshirt years ago that's from an old AIDS poster from the 80s.
Ooh,
And
it
it says like, I've fucked 2 people, and then those 2 people have fucked 2 people, and then those 2 people have fucked 2 people, and it goes on, and it goes, I've fucked 742 people just by sleeping with 2 people. So it's like, for me, STIs, STDs, whatever, is just like, you know, it's bacteria, or it's like
Sure.
microscopic. It doesn't give a fuck. Like, you could be the hottest person, the richest person, the cleanest person in the entire world and still have an STD. And most people who have one don't know that they have one.
Well, yesterday's gone down the river and it ain't coming back.
He doesn't
Anyways, for our listeners,
happen. Yes,
I've
for our
also-
listeners.
I've
I
now-
think condoms are important. Also, I just got off birth control for the first time. I've been on birth control since before I started having sex for 10 years
I
or
think
9 years.
Everyone should
You're
use.
gonna feel better.
I just
everyone-
got my IUD out, and so now, I don't use condoms usually because I'm always in a relationship and tested, but
Everyone
now
should
I
use
have to use a
condoms.
condom because I'm not getting pregnant
Everyone should use condoms.
until I want to.
Except if you were with me in the back in the day, then don't worry about it.
Oh,
Right?
okay. First of all, I can confirm you don't have.
Do you know
any-
what? It feels like when you're drunk and you have a condom on, it feels like putting a bag over your head and doing push-ups. I can't-
Really?
It doesn't.
I feel like that's dramatic.
No, it's not dramatic. Taylor, chime in.
I don't mind condoms because
Okay.
I'm not married, so of course.
I think condoms like don't feel that great. Like, obviously everyone would prefer to fuck without a condom. Like, sometimes they just like the lube is like weird, or it's just like it rubs
and,
a
and
little.
of course, I'm not saying that I
Oh,
I
God.
like them, but I'm just saying for me, I'm not married, and so I can't have kids. So
Have you tried Woo Lube?
Woo lube.
Yeah.
No,
Give
what
you
is
some
that?
I'm
before
gonna give you
before you
some.
go.
It's
Okay.
coconut oil lube.
Okay.
And I got a UTI every single time I had sex for like years,
Really?
and I haven't gotten one since.
Yeah. Okay, so I use silicone lube. I'm a silicone girl.
Why?
It's the most slick out of anything,
Okay.
and it's actually what my gynecologist recommends because I used to get a lot of UTIs too. So I hate water-based lube. I think it should get chucked in the trash.
This one's not water based at all. Wait, have it out there. We'll give it to you.
Okay,
before
yeah.
you leave.
Water-based, though, it gets tacky. And the reason it's called like water-based is you're supposed to add water or saliva to keep it slick, which I'm like defeats the purpose of lube. But the reason people use water-based is because you can use it with silicone toys. and like butt plugs and all the shit, you can't use silicone lube with silicone toys.
You
I know
can
it's a
use-
lot to remember.
You
sorry.
can use this oil-based lube with the silicone toys that we also
Can
make
you use
for
it with condoms
You
though?
cannot use it with condoms.
Yeah, see, that's what I mean. There's always a weird give and take.
Yeah,
You can't use it with
which
condoms.
is perfect for me.
Yeah, we got it. I think that you are incredible to normalize this conversation. You can come back anytime. I feel like I could have asked you so many more questions. I think
Maybe I'll have more sex stories
these
for you next
conversations
time.
need to be had because there are people that are not talking about sex, and it's really just not like it's normal.
So let's round it out. Don't do anything I do. Have sex with condoms. Go to therapy.
Yeah.
Probably invite another partner in the relationship.
No, she didn't say that.
Get the
do
gooch,
it. Do
get the
it
gooch.
if it works for you.
Yeah. Lick gooch.
Yeah, if you want to do any anal stuff, I say a condom and make sure you take a shower or do an enema, like prep.
A shower would be great. And also, definitely get off your phone
Yeah, get off your phone for a little bit.
and Google rusty trombone. Thank you so much for coming on. Where can everyone find you? Pimp yourself out. You have a new Dear Media show. Tell us all the things that you're working
Okay, so
on.
my podcast is called Going Mental with Eileen Kelly. You can find it everywhere you can find podcasts. You can follow me on Instagram at Eileen, like the song Come On Eileen, so Eileen. And yeah,
You're really good on the mic.
thank you.
She's very good on the
Yep.
mic.
And I don't say that to everybody.
Excuse me.
Really? I was really anxious about, I don't love my voice. I mean, people
You have a
tend-
great voice.
I love your voice.
Really? I always thought I was too nasally.
It's very like soft. It's nice. And by the way,
It's a stop and listen voice.
That is so sweet. You guys are making me blush.
Can
I mean that.
Oh my God, my thing is working.
oh yeah,
Is that kicking in?
it's good.
Yeah.
It's actually drugs.
Imagine.
You do have a great voice, and I just want to say, I have to say, who screenshotted her Instagram and was like, "You got it."
She changed my life.
No.
Really?
You would have gotten on the network. They would have found you. Trust
Okay.
me. They do find the diamonds in the rough. But yes, I told you aggressively.
Well,
I
I'm
just want you
excited.
to in the conversation with you were right.
You're always right.
Thank you.
I will say my producer did ask the Dear Media person if you guys could put this out when my season launches.
When
Yeah.
does it launch?
Whenever you want.
like in a month.
I'll figure it out. Yeah.
Okay,
Figure it
cool.
out. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.